Hi guys, today's topic about inner ear malformation, or you can say cochleovestibular malformations. The pediatric SN loss is a major cause of disability, although inner ear malformations account for only 20 to 40% of all cases. Recognition and characterization will be vital for the proper management of these patients. CT and MRI imaging play a crucial role in the characterization and vital for the proper management. The sensory hearing loss in children is a major cause of disability. It can be due to congenital or acquired anomaly. At least 50% are genetic, and among acquired 50%, or you can say 40%, mainly caused by the CMV virus. The cochlear implantation is the standard therapeutic proceeding for severe to profound SN loss. Now talk about anatomy and embryology of inner ear. During third week, the thickening of surface ectoderm on either side of rhombencephalon leading to otic placoid formation. By fourth week, the otic placoid develop a pit that is called otic pit, which closes off at fourth week and form the otocyst. Otoplacoids and now otocyst. The development of cochlea is completed in the 8th week, and the vestibule development complete by 11th week, and semicircular canals complete develops by 19 to 22nd weeks. The superior first develop is superior cervical canal by 20th week, then posterior semicircular canal, and then horizontal semicircular complete development by 22nd week. The inner ear made up of the membranous labyrinthine that in turns around the osseous spiral labyrinth, and the cochlea responsible for hearing is a conical structure consisting of a duct that make about 2.5 tons around a central core called modulus. You have to remember this osseous lamina in which the cochlea turns around is called modulus. From the modulus, a thin osseous spiral layers reaches out to divide the duct into scala vestibuli and scala tympani. The through cochlear opening, it's cochlear opening also called cochlear aperture or lamina fibrosa. The cochlea meets the fundus of internal auditory canal. The cochlear nerve passes through it. So it is between the cochlear opening between the internal auditory canal and between the cochlea. The vestibular system is made up of the vestibule and the 3 semicircular canal. The spectrum of disease mainly involve 4 genes: DIX, SOX, FGF and FOX. These 4 genes mainly leading to genetic malformation of the cochlea. The latest classification by Senaroglu in 2017, which is worldwide accepted, divide cochlear malformations or cochleovestibular malformation to 8 domains. Now, how cochlea develop and defect at which week develop? The cochlea develop by 3rd to 8th week, and you can see on 3rd week there is complete labyrinthine aplasia or rudimentary otocyst at the 3rd week arrest. 4th week there is cochlear aplasia, common cavity enlarged vestibular aqueduct or cochlear aperture anomaly will be found because of arrest at 4 week. 5th or 6th week leading to cochlear hypoplasia of different types, and 7th or 8th week leading to incomplete partition. Now you can see in this picture there is complete development of vestibule and cochlea. This is normal cochlea, and cochlear aplasia, there is vestibule is fully developed, but cochlear aplasia is there, no cochlear development is there. Common cavity in which the vestibule and cochlea both are less developed. Cochlear hypoplasia is small type of cochlea, and it's having mild to severe grade, and incomplete partition, it may be mild to severe. Now we will talk about 8 domains separately, which is given by the This is Senar-Oghlu classification in 2017. It is latest classification. Now talk about Senar-Oghlu classification. There is 8 domains. Now talk about first domain. Now complete labyrinthine aplasia. It is also called Michel deformity. It's because of third week developmental arrest. There is total absence of inner ear structures. Internal auditory canal is atretic or absent. Facial nerve trajectory is aberrant. And petrous apex hypoplasia, there is absence of petrous apex also, or maybe petrous wall also. The medial wall is completely absent, or promontory is absent on CT or MRI. Now it is also absolute contraindication of cochlear implantation. I put CT scan after this so that you can come to know which type of cochlear malformation, cochlear vestibule malformation is there. The complete labyrinthine aplasia is 3 types, with hypoplastic petrous bone or aplastic petrous bone. Without aortic capsule, there is absence of aortic capsule, and with aortic capsule you can see 3 types of complete labyrinthine aplasia. It is absolute contraindication of cochlear implant. And this complete labyrinthine aplasia may associated with the Hoxa mutation, which is vascular anomaly, facial weakness, and hyperventilation syndrome. It may also associated with Lamb syndrome, in which FG3 mutation is there. There is macrotia and macrodontia is also present. Now talk about second classification, that is second one in Senar-Oghlu classification is rudimentary otocyst. It is also called Michel otocyst deformity. It's because of arrest between 3rd and 4th week, and rudimentary otocyst is a very small cystic structure without formation of internal auditory canal. It's also contraindication of cochlear implantation. Now talk about cochlear aplasia. It's also arrest of cochlear structure at 4th week. There is complete absence of cochlea, and here labyrinthine segment of the facial nerve is entirely displaced, and vestibular semicircular canal are fully developed in this cochlear aplasia, because it's aplasia of cochlea, not the vestibule. The cochlear nerve is absent. It is 2 types. First is cochlear aplasia with normal labyrinthine, and second is cochlear aplasia with dilated vestibule and semicircular canal. It's also contraindication of cochlear implantation. So 3, complete labyrinthine aplasia, rudimentary otocyst, and this cochlear aplasia is absolute contraindication of cochlear implantation. Now talk about 4th division is common cavity. It is first described by Edward Koch in 1838. It's because of 4th to 5th week arrest. The features are, it is defined as single, large, oval, round structure representing cochlea and vestibule. It contains neural elements of the both cochlea and vestibule. Its rudimentary part of semicircular canal can be present. The internal auditory canal is well developed and enters the mid portion of the cavity. It is cochlea and this is vestibule. So this common cavity in middle, it is internal auditory canal is seen. You can see in CT scan. I will put CT scan also after this. The common cochlear vestibule nerve is present. Occasionally separate cochlear nerve may be seen, but most of the time it is common bundle of cochleovestibular nerve. The 6th feature of common cavity is cochlear implantation, effective treatment for the hearing in common cavity. The surgical approach for cochlear implantation is via transmusted banana-shaped labyrinthectomy, which first was described as McElveen et al. As the neural elements are mainly located at the periphery of the cavity, so straight electrodes are preferred. Pre-curved, modular hugging and half-bended electrodes should be avoided. The length of the electrode array required can be calculated prior to surgery by using the formula 2 pi r. where r is the radius of the common cavity. So 2 pi r is the proper length of the electrode array. You can measure by application of this formula. You can see this internal auditory canal. If you draw the line, there is common cavity defect. Okay, so this is cochlear aplasia with dilated vestibule, and this is common cavity. So you can differentiate between cochlear aplasia with dilated vestibule with common cavity by, if you draw the line through the internal auditory canal, there will be no anterior structure to it, so it is cochlear aplasia. So there is no cochlea because cochlear structure are anterior to internal auditory canal. So it is cochlear aplasia where complete development of cochlea is arrested. In common cavity, if you draw the line through internal auditory canal, you will see the cochlea is there, but it is less developed. So, and this is vestibule. So almost it passes between internal auditory canal. You can see two cavities, almost single cavity but two divisions through internal auditory canal per line. So it is anterior to internal auditory canal, there is cavity, and half cavity is behind, so it is common cavity defect. Now fifth type of Sena-Roglu classification is cochlear hypoplasias. Now cochlear hypoplasia, in which smaller external dimensions of cochlea can be seen and cochlear duct length is less than 25 mm, may represent various ways. Hearing may be normal, profound, conductive, or SN loss, or mixed hearing loss. Patient with pure conductive hearing loss, especially with the cochlear hypoplasia 3 and 4, may benefit from stapes surgery. The cochlear nerve deficiency is frequent in cochlear hypoplasias. The promontory is flat and round window is visualized, may not be visualized. So there is no round window because of promontory is flat. Facial nerve have anomalous course. And in this, better to use smaller and slimmer electrode, thinner electrode. Now talk about 4 type of cochlear hypoplasia. In first, there is small bird-like cochlea. There is no interscallar septum or modulus. What is interscallar septum? This is apical turn, this is middle turn, and this is visual turn. So this is modulus in which this turn take place. So between apical, between the turns like apical, middle, or turn, there is this septum is called interscallar septum. So this in cochlear hypoplasia, first there is small bird cochlea, there is no interscallar septum, and there is no modulus. So both this modulus and interscallar septum is absent like this. It is bird-like cochlea. Now cochlear hypoplasia 2 is cystic hypoplastic cochlea. There is absent modulus and interscallar septum. Vestibule and vestibular aqueduct may be enlarged. There might be defect between internal auditory canal and cochlea. Because of this, there are higher chances of gusher during the surgery. And stapedial footplate defect may present recurrent meningitis, and this full bended lateral wall electrode are used. Now cochlear hypoplasia 3 is shorter and fewer turn cochlea, less than 2.5 turns, and shorter interscallar septum and modulus. You can see shorter interscallar septum and modulus is there. In cochlear hypoplasia 4 is normal basal turn and their fusion of middle and apical turn leading to hypoplastic appearance, and this is facial nerve may be anomalous. So this is 4 type of cochlear hypoplasia 4. Now talk about incomplete partition. It is 6th division. In this group of anomalies where the differentiation between cochlea and vestibule is clear cut, and the differentiating feature from cochlear hypoplasia is that in incomplete partition the cochlea is normal length and it is about 25 mm in size, and cochlea is normal in external appearance, and there is complete formation of cochlea but there is defect inside the cochlea. It is 3 types. on basis of intrascalar septum and modulus. Now talk about type 1. Type 1 is cystic cochleovestibular malformation in which normal external architecture of cochlea is there, but there is absent modulus and absent intrascalar septum. Dilated vestibular defect between the cochlea and internal auditory canal. No modulus in the nerve ending along the periphery, so west electrode for IP1 is the full bended lateral wall electrode. And big cochleostomy should be done in cochlear implantation, lead to CSF flow, then you can insert the electrode. Now IP2 is the apical part of modulus and corresponding intrascalar septum are defective. There is cystic apical part because of fusion of apical and Middleton leading to, and this is leading to IP2. Sometimes IP2 incomplete partition 2 is associated with enlarged vestibular aqueduct and dilated vestibule. This deformity is called Mondenich deformity. Okay, so IP2, enlarged vestibular aqueduct and dilated vestibule is called Mondenich dysplasia, or you can say Mondenich deformity. It is not like IP2 is Mondenich deformity. It is Mondenich only having triad. Okay, so IP2 is different. In Mondenich deformity there is IP2, enlarged vestibular aqueduct and dilated vestibule is there. In this, hearing loss may be normal to profound and no CSF gusher is there in IP2. Any kind of electrode can be used, and associated, this IP2 is also associated with Pendred syndrome, in DiGeorge syndrome and Mondenich deformity. Pendred syndrome is SN loss with colloid matter. Okay. Now talk about IP3. IP3 is absent modulus. Intrascalar septum is present like this. Intrascalar septum, but there is no modulus. Okay. And it is mainly X-linked deafness, and defect between the internal auditory canal and cochlea is there. There is 100% chances of the gusher, and in which the full bended lateral wall electrode is used, and facial anomaly may be associated with IP3. You can see difference between IP1 to 3 according to intrascalar septum and modulus. There is in first both intrascalar septum modulus absent. In IP2 there is intrascalar septum is absent but modulus is present. And IP3 the intrascalar septum is present but modulus is absent. Because it's excellent. You can see I have already told the detail of each and every IP3. Now come to the 7th division. It's enlarged vestibular aqueduct. It is one of the most common inner ear malformations. Vestibular aqueduct is enlarged, and vestibular aqueduct is a bony structure in which contain the endolymphatic duct, which connect the inner ear to the endolymphatic sac to the posterior cranial fossa. Various criteria for enlarged vestibular aqueduct. Large, according to Balbasuri and Clemens, it is most commonly accepted classification in which the midpoint of the width is more than 1.5 mm. It is midpoint between the operculum and the vestibule. If you measure the width, you will find if it is more than 1.5 mm, it is enlarged vestibular aqueduct. Cincinnati in 2007 told width is midpoint is more than 0.9 mm. At operculum level, if it is more than 1.9 mm, it is called dilated. In Wilson's criteria, any segment of vestibular aqueduct adjacent to posterior canal, if it is more than the diameter of posterior semicircular canal, twice the diameter of any canal, horizontal, posterior, semicircular, it is most likely dilated enlarged vestibular aqueduct. An enlarged vestibular aqueduct can be sign of genetic disorder like Pendred syndrome, in which the progressive hearing loss associated with goiter. Now talk about this cochlear aperture anomaly, also known as cochlear faucet anomaly. Okay, the cochlear aperture, it is a bony cochlear nerve canal in which the cochlear nerve is passing through, carries the cochlear nerve between the internal auditory canal and modulus. The atresia or stenosis of cochlear aperture correlate with the cochlear nerve deficiency. The cochlear aperture normally equal to or more than 1.5 mm at mid portion or mid modular width. Cochlear aperture stenosis defined when mid modular width is less than 1.5 mm. When cochlear aperture is not visible and it is occluded, so it is called atretic. There is cochlear nerve is absent most of the time. Approximately 33% of ear with bony cochlear nerve canal stenosis also had a hypoplastic or aplastic cochlear nerve. All patients with bony cochlear nerve canal atresia had cochlear nerve deficiency. I already told you. The cochlear nerve was hypoplastic or aplastic when the diameter of internal auditory canal was less than 2 mm. Cochlear aperture can be normal, hypoplastic, aplastic or wide. Cochlear aperture aplasia, hypoplasia are most commonly seen with Charles syndrome. Now new classification, easy to remember classification for like Senaroglu put for cochlear vestibule or cochleovestibular malformation, or you can say in-ear malformation. So this is very simple classification. This Savai-Mansingh classification on name of SMS. This classification is easy, provide uniformity, enables treatment planning and allow the prediction of complication and prognosis. So this SMS classification of cochleovestibular malformation took cochlear morphology, the modulus and lamina cribrosa consideration to divide the cochleovestibular malformation into 6 types. First is A, B1, B2, C1, C2 and D. So it is 6 types according to cochlear morphology, modulus, lamina cribrosa and associated anomalies. In type A, there is normal cochlear morphology, normal modulus and normal cochlear aperture, you can say lamina cribrosa, normal. It is having isolated syndrome like enlarged vestibular aqueduct. So it is type 1A. B1 is in which cochlear morphology is abnormal, smaller modulus in normal lamina cribrosa. In B2, there is abnormal cochlear morphology, defective modulus and normal lamina cribrosa. In C1, there is abnormal cochlear morphology, absent modulus or normal lamina cribrosa. In C2, there is abnormal morphology, absent modulus or absent or deficient lamina cribrosa. So lamina defect start at C2 level. And D is absent cochlear structures, modulus is also absent, lamina cribrosa is also absent. It may associate with cochlear nerve malformations. So this is 6th division according to the Savai-Mansingh classification. If you put Senaroglu with this, you can see in A type there is isolated anomaly of semicircular canal or enlarged vestibular aqueduct and comes in A1. B1 is cochlear hypoplasia type 3 and 4th. B2 is cochlear hypoplasia 2. C1, C2 having IP1 common cavity, IP the cochlear hypoplasia 1 and 2 type, and C2 having incomplete partition 3 common cavity, cochlear hypoplasia 1 and 2. D having complete labyrinthine aplasia, rudimentary otocyst and cochlear aplasia. So this D is contraindication of cochlear implantation. So it is easy to remember, but worldwide following the Senaroglu classification. Now comes about one by one. In cochleovestibular malformation type 1, you can say type A, in which normal cochlea, it involves extracochlear part of labyrinth like dysplastic vestibule, absent semicircular canal or enlarged vestibular aqueduct. All type of electrode can be used. Surgery is the same as that of normal cochlea, except the mid-perilymph oozure is seen in enlarged vestibular aqueduct. Results are the same as normal cochlear implantation is done in this case. Now, cochleovestibular malformation type B, according to SMS classification, this is cochlear morphology is not normal in this. Modulus is present, however, in B1, the modulus is complete but smaller. In B2, the partially defective modulus is upper half of the cochlea. The lamina cribrosa is normal, so there is no communication between the internal auditory canal and cochlea. All electrode can be used. Surgery is the same as that for normal cochlea, except mild perilymph oozure can be seen. Results are same as normal cochlea. CMB type C, there is cochlear morphology is abnormal, modulus is absent, lamina cribrosa is normal in C1 and deficient absent in C2. As there is no modulus, the nerve ending are along the periphery of the cochlea, so full bended lateral wall electrode should be used. The chances of CSF gusher are high in type C2. Their surgeon should be prepared for dealing with it. There should be bigger cochleostomy done. Let the CSF flow out and you can put form electrode, in which the proximal part of array having conical stopper so that it can stop the CSF gusher or CSF flow. The good sealing of cochleostomy by tissue should be done, and sometimes subtotal petrosectomy may be required. In type C2, due to big communication between the internal auditory canal and cochlea, there are chances of electrode error may be misplaced in internal auditory canal. Therefore, a cross check should be done by with SIAM or X-ray, so you can withdraw the electrode. Okay. And sometimes you may use fluoroscopy guidance to put the electrode because there is gap between internal auditory canal and cochlea. In CMB type D, where which cochlea is absent, vestibular component may not be normally developed, and cochlear implantation contraindicated. All patients require auditory brainstem implant in type D. Now come about some talk about on cochlear nerve anomalies. According to Kesselman et al., describe cochlear nerve hypoplasia or aplasia based on its dimension in relation to ipsilateral facial nerve is about 64% of cases, and relative size of forenerve is symmetrical with contralateral symmetry is about 70% of cases. So you can see cochlear nerve size is correlated with spiral ganglion cell population, and thus it helps predict the outcome of cochlear implantation. So you should see the symmetry of cochlear nerve also and development of cochlear nerve before putting the cochlear implantation. Kesselman came with classification with divided cochleovestibular nerve anomaly into following 4 types. In type 1, there is no cochleovestibular nerve is seen, only facial nerve is present. In type 2A, there is absent cochlear nerve and dysplastic labyrinthine is there. In type 2B, absence of cochlear nerve with normal labyrinthine. In type 3, there is isolated aplasia of vestibular nerve. It's never reported. So this is Kesselman classification. But newer classification of cochlear nerve anomaly is by Senaroglu, which divided into 6 types. In first, there is normal cochlear nerve. In type 2 is smaller cochlear nerve with smaller cochlear nerve than the facial nerve dimensions, and bony cochlear nerve canal is stenotic or atresia is present. Now type 3 is there is no cochlear nerve. Type 4 is in which single bundle of cochleovestibular nerve is there. There is no differentiation between cochlear and vestibular nerve. There is single nerve. And type 5th is hypoplastic cochleovestibular nerve. This type 4 and 5 found mainly in common cavity. And there is type 6 is absent cochleovestibular nerves, in which the both cochlear and vestibular nerve is absent in type 6. So it's seen in the Michel deformity. You can say in the complete labyrinthine aplasia. So this talk about cochlear vestibular malformation. Thank you so much. Hi guys, this is topic about inner ear malformation and cochleovestibular malformation. Pediatric stenosis is a major cause of disability. Although inner ear malformation account for only 20 to 40% of all cases, recognition and characterization will be vital for proper management of these patients. CT and MRI imaging play a crucial role in the characterization will be vital for the proper management. Sensory hearing loss in children is a major cause of disability. It can be due to congenital and acquired anomaly. At least 50% have a genetic origin, and among acquired ones, the CMV virus is most common cause. The cochlear implantation is a standard therapeutic proceeding for severe to profound SN loss. Now talk about anatomy and embryology of inner ear. During third week, the thickening of surface ectoderm on either side of the rhombencephalon resulting to form otic placode. At fourth week, it develop an otic pit, and after some time, otic pit is disappear, lead to otocyst formation. At fourth week, this development of cochlea completed at 8th week, and by vestibule developed by 11th week, and semicircular canal developed by 19th to 20th week, 22th week, and its superior canal developed, then posterior canal developed, and at last horizontal semicircular is developing. The inner ear made up of the membranous labyrinthine, that is about 2.5 tons, and this turns around the modulus, and osseous spiral layer reaches out to divide the duct into scala vestibuli and scala tympani. Through cochlear opening, there is also called cochlear aperture or lamina fibrosa. The cochlear meets the fundus of internal auditory meatus. The cochlear nerve passes through it, and there is a spectrum of cochleovestibular genes, which is mainly DIX, SOX, FGF, FOX. These are 4 common genes involved in genetic malformations. You can see cochlear development in this phase, 3rd to 8th week is completed. You can see normal cochlea, cochlear hyplasia, common cavity, cochlear hypoplasia, incomplete partition. Okay, so according to Senga-Gluru, this classification is having 8 domains. First is complete labyrinthine aplasia, or you can call it Michel deformity. It's because of arrest of development of cochlea on 3rd week. So this is first type. There is total absence of inner ear structure. Internal auditory canal is atretic. Facial nerve is trajectory is aberrant. In petrous apex, hypoplasia may be seen. There is no development of petrous box. It is 3 types, with a hypoplastic petrous bone, without otic capsule, or with otic capsule. So 3 types of complete labyrinthine aplasia is there. And sometimes it is related to Lamb syndrome, that is FGF3 mutation. You can see in this picture there is complete labyrinthine aplasia. In this picture there is no proper development of petrous bone. Second is rudimentary otocyst. This is also called Michel otocyst deformity. It is arrest of development of 3rd to 4th week, and you can see only a small cyst there. It is also contraindicated of cochlear implantation. You can see there is a small otocyst which is not developed in the cochlea. Now third is cochlear aplasia. It is arrested fourth week, and there is absence of cochlea. Where labyrinthine is well developed. Vestibule may be fully developed, and semicircular canal also fully developed. You can see cochlear aplasia. There is two types: cochlear aplasia with normal labyrinthine and cochlear aplasia with dilated vestibule or semicircular canals. It also contraindication of cochlear implants. So 3. Complete labyrinthine aplasia, rudimentary otocyst and cochlear aplasia are contraindication of cochlear implantation. Now common cavity. It is first described by the Edward Koch in 1838. It is defined as single large ovate round structure representing the cochlea, contain neural element of both cochlea and vestibule as a common cochleovestibular nerve, and internal auditory canal is well developed, enter in the mid portion of this cavity. And it's also, you can do cochlear implantation. You can see in this CT scan there is common cavity is there, in which the internal auditory canal is passing. There is nerve also well developed, you can see in this picture. And neural elements are mainly located at periphery of cavity. So straight electrode are preferred because pre-curved modular electrode hugging half-bent electrode should be avoided because straight electrode is better. Now cochlear hypoplasia. It is smaller external dimension. A cochlear duct length is about less than 25 mm. May present various ways. It is mainly 4 types: cochlear hypoplasia 1, 2, 3 and 4. One is having a small bud with cochlea. There is no interscalar septum or no modulus. Cochlear hypoplasia 2 is cystic hypoplastic cochlea, absent modulus and absent interscalar septal. Vestibule and vestibular aqueduct may be enlarged. There might be a defect between internal auditory canal and cochlea. And stapedial foot plate defect may be having meningitis. You can see this in this cochlear hypoplasia. You can see each cochlear hypoplasia 1, 2, 3 in this CT scan. Cochlear hypoplasia 3 is shorter and fewer cochleator less than 2.5 and shorter interscalar septum and modulus. In cochlear hypoplasia 4 is normal basal turn and middle and apical turn are hypoplastic, you can see in this picture, and facial nerve anomaly may be present in this. So cochlear hypoplasia 1, 2, 3 and 4 you can see in this picture. Now incomplete partitions. In this group of anomalies where the differentiation between cochlea and vestibule is clear cut, and the differentiative feature from cochlear hypoplasia is that in this incomplete partition cochlea is normal in length and may be larger in size more than 25 mm. In incomplete partition 1 you can see cystic cochleovestibular malformation, no normal external architecture but absent modulus and absent interscalar septum is there. There is no modulus and nerve ending on the periphery, so better electrode is full bended electrode on lateral wall is effective. Big cochleostomy let the CSF flow and the electrode insertion can be done. You can see in this picture. The IP2 is apical part of modulus and corresponding interscalar septum are defective. Cystic apical part due to fusion of apical and middle can be seen. So and IP3 there is absent modulus and interscalar septum present. It is mainly excellent. Defect between internal auditory canal cochlea is present. And full bended lateral wall electrode can be used. Enlarged vestibular aqueduct. You can see if its vestibular duct is more than 1.5 mm, it is enlarged vestibular aqueduct. It may be found with associated anomaly or alone in the development. It is 7th type of inner ear malformation. You can judge by the diameter of the according to Valsori in Clemish, the midpoint width is more than 1.5 mm, so it is enlarged vestibular aqueduct. Now come to the cochlear aperture anomaly. If it is cochlear aperture, bony cochlear nerve canal is less than 1.5 mm in size, so it is cochlear malformation, the cochlear aperture anomaly. Now Savai Mansingh classification divided into A, B, C, D, and V again V1, V2, and C again C1, C2. So total 5 classes are there. 6 classes: A, B1, V2, C1, C2, and D. You can see according to cochlear morphology, modulus, and lamina fibrosa. So it's better and standard classification to do the easy classification. You can see not better but easy classification. Now CMB type 1 cochlea is normal, and there may be enlarged vestibular aqueduct associated anomaly may be there. And cochlear nerve anomaly may be there, like Castleman et al. Describe cochlear nerve hypoplasia or hypoplasia in ipsilateral facial nerve is about 40% of the cases. The relative size of nerve is symmetrical, with the contralateral internal auditory canal is 70% is symmetrical. And Castleman again divided into cochlear nerve anomaly in 4 types: 1, 2A, 2B, and 3rd. No cochleovestibular nerve in facial nerve is present. Second is absence of cochlear nerve with dysplastic labyrinth, and second is absence of cochlear nerve with normal labyrinth, and third is isolated aplasia of vestibular nerve can be seen. So this classification is all about cochlear nerve malformation. And this is classification, another classification 1 to 6 type of cochlear nerve anomaly. It is by Senna-Roglu. So this is all about inner ear malformation. Thank you so much.